You guys understand the three pillars of emotional intelligence? One is about me. How am I feeling? Self-awareness. Number one trait of a leader. If we don't believe that that's number one, have you ever seen an unaware leader? The one that tells a joke when it's inappropriate. It's like that disconnected leader where people are like, did they really just say that? And the people that are following, they just don't get it. They're tone deaf to the reality of what's going on. Imagine the credibility loss in that moment. So self-awareness, how am I feeling? Second, empathy. How's my audience feeling, the person I'm dealing with? Being able to truly understand how that person is feeling. The superpower of empathy. So that now I know how I'm feeling, I know how my audience is feeling. And the third is the skill set to be able to adjust my approach to be able to best address the situation. And sometimes the adjustment of approach is to step back and just listen. Or just have a different approach to maybe not address that situation now and to have a way of telling. Or maybe the step back approach is to tell a story, a metaphor. Or maybe tomorrow might be a better day, a bigger picture. But all of those elements come into the communication process. And so when I finally understood that my message needs to be heard, everything began to change, because this concept of attention and leadership, it's about how do I influence behavior to go forward. So courage is great, leading is great, but if I don't even have your attention, none of it matters. So attention is a funny thing, because it's not even what we think it is. I mean, most of life is another thing, is an assumption. Because what we think we pay attention to, we're really not. Our attention span, if we were to turn the lights out in this room, and each of you had a flashlight, and it had a very narrow beam, and wherever we shine that beam is actually what we're actually paying attention to. But the misnomer is, we think we're paying attention to everything. The goal of me communicating, and the goal of influence, is controlling where you place the beam. That's actually the goal of magic. That's the goal of pickpockets, right? So if you've got your wallet here, I've got to make your attention go over there, so much that I can reach in your pocket, grab it, and I can even control where your senses are in that moment. But leadership, parenting, optimism versus pessimism is about where do I point this beam of attention? How do I view it? And here's the thing, I was talking to my son, and he was sitting in the car one day, he was just sitting like this. He was sad, he's moving. And so I said, okay, I said, what's going on? And he told me what was going on. I said, okay, that's one way of looking at it. And I said, are you open to another way of looking at it? And I offered him another view. I said, do you like the house you're moving into? He goes, yeah, I actually do. And I said, do you like your new room? He goes, oh yeah, it's really cool. And I said, here's the thing, Alex. I said, both of those scenarios are right. And whichever one you decide to focus on is true. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, let me give you an example. I could tell you a story about right now how my life is horrible. And I lifted out 10 things about my life sucks. And he looks at me, he goes, oh my God, Dad, I didn't know. Oh my God, are you okay? I said, hold on a second. Let me tell you about 10 things about my life is amazing. And I told him 10 things about my life were amazing. And he goes, oh, Dad, that's awesome. And he goes, but which one? I'm like, well, whichever one you decide to focus on. I said, it doesn't mean that they're both not true. I said, life is about really where you place your energy. I said, it doesn't mean that the stuff that on the negative side isn't a reality, but what I decide to focus on is what I create.